Hi there, fourth grade teachers. First and foremost, I just want to apologize for not being in your team time today, as I had stated earlier. So the next best thing is to give y'all a voiceover of this super important training. And I'm actually at the fifth grade leadership training. And so we've got some awesome fifth grade leaders attending, and I am going with Samira tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. But I am sorry that I'm missing your team time. In any case, here is a quick run through of a test that you will be administering to your fourth graders in about 2 weeks' time. That test is called the NNAT, and it stands for the Naglieri Nonverbal Ability Test. And it's one of the many tests that we use to assess cognitive ability. The COGAT is one, the NNAT is another. The NNAT lends itself to really reaching a lot of learners with different abilities. We usually use it in lieu of a COGAT if a learner has language or is an ELL learner, and a lot of times even a learner that has special needs. So because it is a nonverbal test, it really is a great tool to assess the abilities of the varying types of learners that we have. So the NNAT is a nonverbal test of ability. It is not a test of nonverbal ability. So it's not a test that's assessing nonverbal ability. It's a nonverbal test that is assessing ability. So you can simmer on that for a little bit. So learners who qualify, along with other data points, we look at a minimum of 3 data points, will likely be identified under general intelligence, because I would say one drawback of this test is that it only gives us a general abilities test and doesn't necessarily give us more specific information like the COGAT does, in terms of giving us information on a quantitative strength or a verbal strength. In any case, it does highlight the general intellect of a learner, and it is a great assessment to use for our ELL learners and all of our learners with specific needs. I don't know why this is here. Okay, I apologize. I'm actually sitting in my car because it is so loud in my house right now, and so the you can see that we had some technical difficulties. All right. Okay, so the NNAT is one day. It's literally a 30-minute test. For fourth grade, you will test your class as a whole, and your small groups will be pulled. We only have one small group for the entire grade level, and that is just our learners that require extra time, and they will get time and a half. So the test is 30 minutes. They will get 45 minutes, and there are 4 learners who will be getting that accommodation. And on this Google Doc, which I've attached, I have the names of those 4 learners right here. So those are the learners that will be getting that accommodation. Our ELLs will take the test in the classroom because, again, the NNAT is a nonverbal test, and it does lend itself to our ELL learners. So that's another great positive thing about this test. It's 30 minutes. It's timed. They are taking it on their iPad. And so really you don't have to necessarily time it, because it will be timed when they log in and start testing. Here at the bottom, we've got a quick start guide, which you don't have to pay much attention to, but the administration guide, this is your manual. And this is basically what you as a proctor will read before you start the test. And I will print out pages 19 to 26, but it's also linked here if you want to just have a look at it. There are some sample questions in it, and then just the preamble before the test. Something important to note is that anybody that is testing online on this, anybody that is testing and is in an open space will need to move into a closed space for the duration of the test. Again, it's only 1 hour, and that's taking into account, setting up and starting the test and reading the instructions and your kids going to the restroom. So hopefully from start to finish, it should really only take 1 hour. I'm going to jump down to the schedule. We're looking at Monday, November 8th for 4th grade. And so every house but purple will start at 8 o'clock. And the hope is that you will end at 9, along with the one small group that will be pulled. And then purple house will start at 9:30 and hopefully be done by 10:30. Okay, and then your role as a designer is everybody should have received an email from Pearson, and your job or your role is going to be to create a username and a password for Pearson. Your learners have already been added, so when you log into Pearson, you should be able to see your name. If you click on your name, and then it highlights blue, you just click on a tab that says sessions, and you should be able to see all of your learners because they have been added to your roster. So you will be able to, on the day of testing, simply log in, go to sessions. We've already created the session for you, and you should be able to see all of your learners there and where they are in the testing. And so it's as simple as that. There's not a whole lot more that you need to do. You'll just be able to monitor their progress and see their status if you go to sessions after you log in and click on your name. And Cindy was so gracious yesterday to let me see her screen as she logged in, and so it was super easy peasy. So hopefully that's the same with y'all, and hopefully take a couple of minutes to set that up today. Your role is going to be to proctor your class by logging into Pearson and clicking on sessions. This is where you'll see all of your students. Oh, I just said that. And then your role will also be to read the directions from the manual, and I will print those pages 19 to 26 and give them to you along with some other papers as well. Okay. Test preparation. You will receive an email from Pearson. Like I said, you already got that. We've already created your test sessions, and it would be really wonderful if you would ensure that all learner iPads are ready for testing. And so there's a picture of the app called TestNav for Pearson, and you just need to make sure that all your learners have it prior to testing on the 8th. Inevitably you're going to have some learners that come to school with a iPad that's not fully charged, or something that they're going to require maybe an alternate device. The good thing is that our MacBooks do have this app for TestNav. So if you have some MacBooks in your storage space, it would be helpful to maybe pull a couple, just so that you are prepared if and when a learner says that, oh, my iPad died, or their iPad they came to school without the iPad charged. So there's the schedule again. We're looking at Monday, November 8th. The login cards. Oh, let's go back to the schedule. So I'm well aware that Christina will be coming back to school on this day, fortunately and unfortunately, but I will go ahead and test her class. So don't worry about her class. I got it. The login cards you will see look very much like the STAR logins as well. There's a username and a password, and every learner will have one that has their name on it. It will have your session on it. It will have the name of the test, and then again their username and password, and all they have to do is enter it. So when they log on to the iPad, your learners will find the app. They will click on NNAT 3. So make sure that your test The test that they choose is NNAT 3. And then when they see the NNAT 3, this is where they're going to enter their username and the password that was on their test login card. There you go again. And then when all the iPads are on the welcome screen, this is the welcome screen, you can begin. You're going to read the instructions and the samples from the booklet I give you, or you can even read it online if you just go to the link and read pages 19 to 26. And then you just make sure your group understands what to do and is in the right place. And then you start your testing session from your Proctor computer. Other details. Teachers, you will manage the test session on your laptop. It will automatically shut off after 30 minutes. Again, unless you're testing a group that has extra time, and none of you will be. It'll only be Alex who's testing for learners that have that accommodation. And if a learner does finish before 30 minutes, they are allowed to go back and check their work, or click and end it and then read a book. I apologize for the reconnecting. This is the only, like I said, I'm in my car, the only quiet spot after the 7 o'clock in the evening in my house. It's loud in there. So small group administration, we only have one group, and that group only has 4 learners in it. Really, for this test, the only accommodations that are available are small group and or extended time. There is no oral admin on this test because it is a nonverbal test. It's really just pictures. When the test is over, just make sure that each learner in your group has clicked end, and each screen says sign out complete. Thank you for using TestNav. Then they can exit the TestNav app. Makeup testing, I will poll learners for makeup tests on Thursday and Friday as needed, and I'll reach out to you specifically, so don't worry about that if you do have a learner that's missing. This is another important point to make, that if you have any learners that are already identified right here in the red, so we've got Antoine, Tejasvin, Kanishka, Hanya, and Shema. These learners will not have to test again, so yay. However, they will still be in your classroom, so you can, they can go to a collab, they can go down to the library and read a book, they can work on an app in the collab, or they can sit quietly in your room. So these are the learners that have qualified through CISD and will not have to retest. But some of our 4th graders, like Hasmith, Dhruv, and Maria, will in fact test, because these are transfer learners, and they're still under that probationary period where we're still gathering data on them and trying to make a decision. So this testing will also be one of those data points that we will use in the decision that the GTC makes. Okay. All right, so one important point that I wanted to kind of touch on is the integrity of testing. In order to maintain that integrity, we're going to ask that all of the classes that are in open spaces, they're going to need to be in an enclosed space for the duration of the test. So, luckily it's only for an hour and it's one day. Learners will need to be spread out as best as possible, and privacy folders are recommended, and also to collect any smartwatches that your learners may have. And also, I believe in the small groups accommodation, if you click on this link, the bottom of it, the only 4th grade class is Purple House, that is outside, in the outside space. And my suggestion is to move into P2 or P2B on the 8th for that hour. All right, and some additional points to remember. The week of November 1st, that's next week, I will give you a couple of papers. You'll get an attendance sheet, a seating chart, the time to start and end recording sheet. You'll get a set of tabs sheets for your learners. And if you recall from the training on Wednesday, the tabs was the traits, abilities, and behaviors screening that we have to do for every learner in the 4th grade, because the 4th grade for this year is the universal screening year. So you'll have to fill one out for every learner unless they are identified one of the 5 that won't be testing. Those learners do not need a tabs, but everybody else will need a tabs. And you will also get the NNAT directions manual. I'll print out those pages and put them in a folder and pass them out to each of you. The testing tickets will also be passed out the day before the test, or maybe 1 or 2 days before the test. Not super early, because we do have learners that enroll all the time, and so I want to print those out closest to the testing date. All right, so the last point that I just want to touch on is that the tabs forms will be due December 15th. And this was just kind of a refresher if you want to see what it looks like. In general, the tabs, there's a scale of 1 to 5, and the 3 is the moderate. So it's kind of like that middle road, and that's really what you're using to compare the learner that you're assessing to. So if you're giving a learner a 3, you're saying that they're pretty, you're basically saying that they're pretty average when compared to learners of that same age group, right? So compared to other learners in your classroom, they're average. If you're going to give them a 1, then they're quite a bit below on that characteristic than the average 4th grader. And if you give them a 5, they're quite a bit higher than the average based on that characteristic. We can talk about it more later, or you can shoot me an email, and I'll be more than happy to sit and help you fill them out if you have any questions. So the tabs must be done on each learner in your class unless they've already qualified for GT services. Transfer learners are still probationary and still need a tabs. And here's an example I linked of a tabs form that has some really great examples or anecdotal notes on it, just for a point of reference. Okay, I think I've covered most of the important things. The major thing is just to create your login. Make sure you're able to log in, you're able to see your session and all of the learners in your class. If you do have any discrepancy, then please don't hesitate to let me know, and I will, definitely figure out what the answer is to it and fix it. Other than that, I really think that the NNAT is pretty straightforward. It's not super complicated, and I'm excited for screening these learners because they didn't get that opportunity last year. So again, if you have any questions or any concerns, you can direct them to me later when I'm back on campus, but look forward to me popping some of these sheets into your box. I'll probably come around and give it to you and make sure that you don't have any questions, or if you wanted to clarify anything, then that would be the time. All right, friends, I've rambled on long enough, and I wish you all a wonderful Tuesday evening, and I'll see you at school on Wednesday. Bye now.